a fairly long theme we've been following this year on the 5 principles. You affirm them every Sunday. I felt it was a good idea to look at them a little closely, one at a time, because they are the foundation of unity. They are what we are all about. Now, they are not unique to unity. They are not the property of unity. They are universal principles. But one of the unique qualities of unity is that we take them very seriously and we apply them wherever we can. Now, I have to say before starting, I didn't remember this, but you all use a different version of the 5th principle than I have ever heard before. So I'm going to be talking from what is the official, as it were, 5th principle. I'm sorry about that. Let's begin with a quotation from Ellen's book, The 5 Principles, which just came out a couple of years ago. It's really excellent. It's just a guide to the principles. Ellen is one of my dearest friends. We work together in Dallas, and I'm just really always happy to use that as a resource, and I've been able to use it all this week as I prepared. Yes, we can't do anything but a candle. You just do everything around here. This is the quote from Ellen. The 5 principles provide steps to lead us from ego to soul, from living unconsciously to living in awareness of truth. Truth is spiritual law. It is creation at our service. I think that's really a powerful statement. Sometimes somehow deceptively powerful. It sort of sneaks in and grabs you. Law is creation at our service. So God in action is using the first 4 principles to, in Jesus' words, create the kingdom of heaven. And it has been my discovery this week, at least for myself, that these principles are not simply standalone, 5 standalone principles. They are a path. They are a process. They lead you from one to the other. And we'll see that, as we look at the 5th. So God in action is using the first 4 principles. It begins with a solid faith in God as God. Then comes the first challenging leap to recognize our own divine nature, God as us. The third step allows us to understand how creation works. We create, consciously or unconsciously, through the power of our thoughts and feelings. And the 4th step, which we looked at 2 weeks ago, teaches us to focus through the power of prayer, to focus our creative energy so that we can use it constructively and powerfully. So now we take those first 4 principles and put them to work in our human experience. Knowing and understanding the laws of life, also called truth, are not enough. We must also live the truth we know. That is the version that Ellen uses in her book. Knowing and understanding the laws of life, also called truth, are not enough. We must also live the truth we know. In the Boston congregation says, are just the beginning, not are not enough. We don't need negatives in our principles. So the laws of life, also called truth, are just the beginning. We must also live the truth we know. Now, I think this leads directly, it's like opening French doors, leads to the 12 powers. Or for those of us, if there are any others besides me here who share a history of addiction, the 12 steps. Really, in fact, the 12th step describes the energy of the 5th principle very well. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to others and to practice these principles in all our affairs. We're really saying the same thing, aren't we? Now, I agree with Yoda that there is no try. So I would drop that. We carry the message and we practice these principles. After all, it's our intention that creates. And people, the important thing to remember is that we carry these principles and we express them whether we are aware of it or not. It's our intention that creates. So if we are unconsciously creating, we're still applying the principles even though we don't know it. Charles Fillmore wrote that the 12 powers are the faculties that relate us to the earth beneath and the heavens above. They are, he said, our tools for the gradual refinement of the man of flesh into the man of spirit. And that really is what each of us is in the process of. That's really why we come together every Sunday, to support each other in that truth and to give each other the energy we need to remember it, to use it through the week. So this fifth principle brings spiritual truth into our mortal experience. And the 12 powers are the tools that provide the bridge that guides us in guides us to live the truth we know. Our mortal minds love to decide just how we should live that truth. If it can't get our attention completely away from these principles, mortal mind, ego mind, has a remarkable ability to twist them and use them for its own purposes. It will not give up. So if our mortal minds love to say, okay, fine, this is what we need to do. You need to win the lottery. You need to find the right partner, or whatever. It usually involves setting goals, establishing priorities. Ego mind loves to do that. Now, all of that can be very important to spirit mind as well, but only when it comes from the four principles that precede this one. We can't just jump into the fifth principle and try to make it work. That's ego mind saying, let's take a shortcut. And when I first experienced the 12 steps, well, not when I first experienced them. When I first experienced them, I thought, this is nonsense, and it's certainly not for me. But when I finally started reading and accepting the fact that they were important in my life, ego mind said, well, let's skip. Let's skip up and let's do 8 and then 9, and never mind 3 and 4. And, it's a process. Spirit knows the process, and if we surrender to Spirit, we are going to move through the entire process. We can most effectively use the 5 principles by quieting mortal mind, relaxing, and allowing our spirit self to guide us forward. We live the truth we know most effectively when we keep it simple. And you know who was great at keeping it simple? Jesus. To us, his earthly ministry may seem to be chaotic, conflicted, and challenging. He was surrounded always by needy people demanding healing, judging people loudly denouncing him, and confused people who totally misunderstood his message. And yet Jesus moved through it with ease, at least most of the time. He lost his temper a few times and got a little judgmental every once in a while, but that was Jesus. Jesus Christ moved through it absolutely with ease, allowing Spirit to guide him as he discovers and achieves his spiritual purpose. One of the exciting, maybe the most exciting use I have of the Gospels is to understand them as the story of Jesus, as he expands and expresses into his Christ self, as Jesus becomes Jesus Christ, so to speak. Because he doesn't do it perfectly at the beginning all the time. He thinks his message is only for Jews, so he's very rude to a woman from Phoenicia who wants a healing for her daughter. And then he realizes that he has a lesson to learn there. Whoops, maybe this isn't just for Jews. Maybe I should open my mind a little bit. It's important to recognize that Jesus did not allow his mortal mind to call the shots. He didn't take on the whole Roman Empire. He didn't try to take over the Jewish religion. He didn't publish books. He didn't do anything to become famous. He never made it on Oprah. He simply lived his truth and practiced these principles quietly, gracefully, without concern for the opinions of others. And if we do a discussion group today, I'm not sure we'll have enough, but if not, we'll do it next time I'm here. I want to use the feeding of the 5,000 to show how Jesus lived the truth and how he taught it to others. So I hope the takeaway this morning will be that living our truth does not necessarily mean changing the world. It can. You can be here to change the world. That may be your sacred contract. But it doesn't have to be. It's only to mortal mind that that is important. Simply by living these principles, we are allowing Spirit to move through us to accomplish whatever Spirit has in mind for us to accomplish, whatever contract we've made to express in this lifetime. We can march and rally. Yes, we can. I have. Many of you have, I'm sure, and will again. We can write op-ed pieces. We can take firm, principled stands on issues. And we should do all of that. If you're feeling called to do that, absolutely you should do that. You should never find yourself saying, well, I'm only one voice, I wouldn't matter. You matter. And whatever Spirit is saying for you to do, you do. You know, I have marched through the streets of New York demanding peace in a very angry way, by the way, and learned from that experience and many other things. What's most important is that we live our newfound principles in all our affairs. In all our affairs. Not in the affairs of everybody else. Not in the affairs of other people you live with. Just your own personal affairs. So it's about recognizing the difference between your spirit voice and your ego voice. Because ego voice can use these same principles in very crazy ways, and you don't want to go there. Let's close with another example, another excerpt from Ellen's book. Spiritual action does not demand marching in the streets, saving the environment, or turning corporations into socially responsible do-gooders. Although some people will be guided to express truth in that way. It means at base, integrating our divine essence into ordinary, annoying daily living with its drudgery, confusion, and difficult people. How do we apply these principles when we're sick, broke, heartbroken, scared, angry, or apathetic? How do we make choices day in and day out in alignment with principle so that we can, bit by bit, create the kingdom of heaven? That's a powerful statement. Ellen is very good at zeroing in on what needs to be said. Her background was she was a newspaper reporter in Washington, D.C. before she went into the ministry. So she knows words and she works with them. She loves working with them. She has a real passion for them. And she knows she has the ability to state what we absolutely need to hear sometimes. You may be called to march in the streets, you may not. But you will always be called. You are called this minute to live these principles in your life. Any thoughts or questions before we go into meditation?
So how is our? I didn't hear any difference between what we said and what your. What difference nuance did you see?
The wording is quite different. What you read this morning, I don't.
Through thoughts, words, and actions, we live the truth.
Oh, you have the children's version.
The children's version.
We were reading from the children's version. I wondered. I thought, gee, I don't. My whole talk is going down the tubes here. So there is no difference then. It was the children's version. There is a difference from the children's version. Anything else? Okay, let's move into a time of meditation. I invite you to get comfortable in your seats. Feel your body totally supported by the chair beneath you. So there is no need in this moment for any tension in your body. And so we relax and release that tension in this moment. This is, above all, this is a safe place. This is a place of infinite love and spiritual awareness. And so there is no need for any tension in your mind. And let us just gently move our inner focus away from the tension of thoughts in mind to the quiet stillness we feel and find at the heart of our being. This is a quiet place. This is a peaceful place. And yet this is a place of infinite power. This is where we most clearly know and feel our spiritual self. It is what Jesus called the upper room, the higher perspective that allows us to look at our paths, the path that we have taken so far, and see that it is a beautiful pattern. See that what seemed like random and chaotic challenges have in fact been part of the path that leads us to this moment. From this heart, within this heart, we recognize the holiday we celebrate this weekend, Memorial Day. And we appreciate all those who have sacrificed, who have given of their time, their energy, their love, and their life to make it possible for us to be here this morning, to make it possible for me to find the Christ in my heart. We unfold all of them, from the past or all of them serving at the present moment, all of them in this infinite love we share. We turn and look ahead, and we see a path leading us, calling us forward, but we cannot see much of it. It turns and leaves our sight. It is not ours to know everything that is about to happen. It is ours to decide to trust this path, to trust the 5 powers that define our spiritual truth. To have faith in the very existence, the very fact of God. To recognize ourselves as God in expression. To recognize the creative power of our thoughts, our feelings, and then to apply the structure of affirmative prayer to focus the energy of those thoughts and feelings so that we can consciously create the kingdom of heaven. And then knowing and understanding all of this, we return from heart to head and begin the process within us of using these principles to transform our lives and through us to transform the world. We may not know exactly what lies ahead for us. We may not know exactly what is ours to do, but we know that these principles are constant and absolute. They call us forward, they guide us forward, and they will be with us at every turn in the road. For this wonderful spiritual perception, for this perspective of truth, we are so grateful. It has been a long road and a challenging one to come to this moment. But we wouldn't change a thing because this moment is so rich, so powerful. And we move forward with such confidence and gratitude and grace, saying with each step along the way, thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. And amen.